What's up, guys? Sleepy Pigs here, and my heart's still racing from the Miami of Ohio game. Let's recap tonight, and let's take a look at the final two games going into Friday's matchups. And we went 2-2 in our play-in game picks. Not surprisingly, we missed both the 16 seed playing games, and honestly, those two games were ones that I just hadn't really seen a lot of those teams, so it's kind of hard to pick. You're picking mostly on numbers and statistics rather than kind of what you've seen, and that helps a little bit. But you got to keep in mind a lot of these numbers are fluctuated because a lot of these teams play such a difficult non-conference schedule. But the first game of the night, we had 16 seeded Prairie View AM taking on 16 seeded Lehigh. Playing game, winner plays Florida. Prairie View able to come out and win 67-55. Lehigh did not shoot well at all. 36% from the field, 25% from 3-point, and they were just a little bit frustrated with the athleticism and quickness of Prairie View A&M. Prairie View A&M able to get up in the second half. They were actually trailing by 2 in the first half, but able to get up in the second half and kind of just hold that lead all the way through. Lehigh able to kind of pick away at it, but not enough to make a difference. They lose by 12, and let's take a look at the next game. And the number 16 seeded Prairie View A&M Panthers are awarded with a chance to play the number 1 seeded Florida Gators. This game is set to tip Friday at 9:25 in Tampa, Florida. This is going to be in the backyard of Florida. Florida coming off that abysmal performance against Vanderbilt, so they're going to be a little bit ticked off. They're going to be ready to go. They're definitely going to be focused. I'm sure this whole week has been just getting ready and getting geared up for the Ncaa tournament. They're going to give Prairie View A&M a couple of big body blows, I am sure. And then not only that, when you think about these games, especially with the number 1 teams, once they get like a big lead, 20, 25 points, they're going to put the bench players in. And these are bench players with an opportunity to play in the Ncaa tournament. They're going to also play their hearts out. So that's why it just kind of like starts to pile up on you. I'm sure a lot of the bench players of Florida are going to be better than the Prairie View A&M starters. Looking at Florida here, they are the number 4 defense in the nation, the number 11 offense in the nation. They are 12-6 in quad 1 wins. Not really much more I want to say here, guys. I don't think Prairie View is going to be able to have an answer for Florida. I think Florida is going to win by 25 points. In this next game, I'm just so excited to talk to you guys about. I'm actually speechless. We did call this upset. We said that Miami of Ohio was going to have the home crowd. They did. That they were going to be able to take care of business here. I think I said that it was going to be a much closer game. Miami of Ohio by like 5 or 6. Did not think they were going to be able to win by 10. They dominated the majority of this game. But this is not only a huge win for Miami of Ohio, 89-79 against SMU. It's a massive win for mid-majors. And I'm a huge proponent of the mid-major. I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds with all this stuff, but obviously NIL is really hurting these mid-majors. It's just giving the major schools a little bit of an unfair advantage. And we have a team here that went 31-0 in the regular season, and they were the last team in. Yes, the committee said, well, we had them comfortably in, but then we did our scrubbing, quote, and now they're the last team in because of the numbers. So that it really worries you when, like, what if you have a team next year that goes 29-1? Are they're not even going to be considered? I mean, this is a team that was number 20 in the nation, and they're the last team. They're the last team in. So they definitely had something to prove, not only for themselves, but for mid-majors as a whole. And like I said in my last video, if they lost this game big and SMU just came out and pummeled them, this would set mid-majors back because you would have everyone saying, we were right. This team didn't belong. They didn't have a quad 1 win, and they couldn't get one. But now seeing this, they play their first quad 1 school, and they show that their style of basketball is able to compete with some of the other Power 4 teams. I mean, this just speaks volumes, and I'm so excited that the nation was able to see Miami of Ohio for who Miami of Ohio is. Now, this crowd was insane. It felt like it was 99% Miami of Ohio fans. And honestly, if I'm an SMU fan, I'm not an SMU fan, but if I was, I would be livid that they got put in this play-in game to basically play a home game against Miami of Ohio. It's not fair because the NCAA is supposed to be on neutral court. But here we are, and the crowd just really pushed Miami of Ohio to some of these bigger leads, and every 3-point they made, every turnover they got, the crowd just let them know how much they were supporting them. But this Miami of Ohio team, in their 31 wins, a lot of those wins were not easy. A lot of them were one-possession wins, a lot of overtime wins, and we could see the maturity and comfort that they had playing these tight games. SMU was able to, I think they took the lead at about like 14 minutes, 15 minutes left in the game, and you felt the air kind of start to pull out of that stadium. And maybe if SMU was able to get a few more stops and some points, maybe it was time for, it was going to strike midnight for Miami of Ohio. But they were able to hit some threes, and it's just, the thing that I love seeing this, and Travis Steele, they said in the telecast that he came out and said, we want to hit 43. We don't want to hit. We want to take 43s tonight. Well, they took 41. And they made 16 of them, shooting 39% from three-point range. And I love that mentality. If we're gonna lose, we're gonna go down playing Miami of Ohio basketball. We're not gonna lose going into the lane with the 7'2" guy from SMU. No, we're gonna lose doing our thing, doing what we've done all year. And they looked so good. And it wasn't just one guy from three. We had 5 guys, 5 different guys all making 3-pointers. That's just incredible. Now, SMU, they average about 36 to 37% from 3-point range. They only shot 24% tonight. And I don't know if I would really credit a lot of that to the Miami of Ohio defense. I would credit a lot of it to the lead that Miami of Ohio had, the crowd, and SMU's just, they wanted to get back into this game, and they were rushing some shots. They felt like they had to hit some of these bigger shots to kind of silence the crowd. The crowd was going nuts, but SMU not able to get the job done here. They did have one of their top players, BJ Edwards, was announced. They said he was questionable, I believe, going into this game, and they announced that they were going to sit him for this game. Now, he's been out since February, so they've learned how to play without him. They haven't been playing that great without him. So that obviously was a little bit something that we didn't know until like an hour before the game. And that swayed a lot of things for us, for sure. And it was announced, when it was announced that he was questionable to play, that he was on there, potentially could play, it looked like people were starting to favor SMU a little bit more. But then an hour before the game, they announced that he's out. And that does make a big difference. He's a big time offensive player, but also an extremely solid defensive player for SMU. So definitely gave them a little bit of a hindrance for playing against a team like Miami of Ohio. But I don't think there were many teams maybe outside the top 5 seeds that would have been able to beat this Miami of Ohio team. They don't play excellent defense, but once they got that lead, they started to kind of like close out a little bit more. They felt they got a little bit more comfortable. The first few minutes, it was so nervy. Like you could tell, and then the crowd was just waiting for them to just start hitting their threes, and they were missing. Some of them were air balls, and you thought, oh my God, like here we go. The big team, the big team's going to be able to take this. The little guy is trying to punch up, and he's not going to be able to do it. But once those threes started falling, they were able to just play freely. They started to remember who they were. They started to remember how they got here, playing all of those tight, close games. And I love that experience, especially going into tournament play. They've won a lot of overtime games. They've won a lot of one-possession games. And that's going to give them a head up above a lot of these other teams, just knowing how to play in those moments. But let's take a look at their next matchup in the NCAA tournament. And now we have the number 6 seeded Tennessee Volunteers playing the number 11 seeded Miami of Ohio Red Hawks. This game is set to tip Friday at 4:25 in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, about a 9-hour drive for both of these schools if the fans want to make it out. So not sure how the stadium is going to be, if we're going to have more of a Miami of Ohio or a Tennessee crowd, but I would assume it's going to be a lot of Miami of Ohio fans, and then whoever the other game is, I feel like they're going to cheer for Miami of Ohio as well. Obviously, these games, when the games are sold, they're sold in like tickets of 2 games. So I think whoever's watching the other games, they'll cheer a lot for the Miami of Ohio team as well. Now, obviously, Miami of Ohio coming off an amazing performance against SMU. We just talked about it, shooting 41 threes. And I tried to go back to look at Tennessee and if they played a team that was similar to this type of style. And the only game that I could find was the fast-paced Texas A&M, who shot 43 threes and made 13 of them. This was a double overtime win for Tennessee, 87-82. And something tells me that this game's going to be pretty close as well. The question that I have here is, how is Miami of Ohio going to handle the athleticism of Tennessee? I think this Tennessee team, a little bit more athletic. They don't have the size that SMU has. So that's definitely a plus for Miami of Ohio. I think their tallest guy is 6'11" or 7. They don't have a 7'2" guy that's crowding the middle. So Miami of Ohio not going to have to worry about that. They're still going to be a little bit small down low, but it's more like the athleticism and the quickness that Tennessee is going to bring, potentially able to get some turnovers from Miami of Ohio, potentially able to get guys to go out and cover the three-point a little bit quicker than SMU was able to. Tennessee coming in with the number 13 defense in the nation, the number 32 offense in the nation. They are 6-10 in quad 1 games, but they haven't been great down the stretch, and that's one reason why I kind of feel like this game's going to be a little bit tricky, because Tennessee's going to have to find their best basketball. I don't think they're going to get by playing. If they play like B or B plus basketball, Miami of Ohio's probably going to beat them. Tennessee has lost 4 of their last 6 games. Their only 2 wins are to South Carolina, who's a bottom dweller in the SEC, and Auburn, who I would say barely missed the tournament, but I don't know. I don't think they really deserve to be in. But Tennessee able to beat them in the tournament and then lost to Vanderbilt, who made the finals of the SEC tournament. So this Tennessee team struggling a little bit. Miami of Ohio, we assume that they're just going to come out with the same game plan. They're going to shoot 40 plus threes. And if they sink about 16 to 20 of them, they're probably going to win this game. If they go cold, they're probably going to lose by a lot. I think Tennessee's going to be able to score down low whenever they want. So I don't really see it being a lot like the SMU game. But I kind of do feel like if Miami of Ohio is able to get a lead, that we're going to see something similar to what SMU was doing, where you just start chucking up some of these threes, hoping that you can kind of cut back into it, and then you miss. You turn the ball over. Miami of Ohio is able to get down there, maybe hit another three, and before you know it, the lead's now double digits. I can see this spiraling a little bit out of control. The odds makers have this game with Tennessee favored by double digits. I do not agree with that at all. And for me, I'm sticking with Miami of Ohio. I like the way that they played. They got the jitters out of the way. They got their quad one win. They're ready to go now, guys. They believe now. Like maybe some of the guys on the team didn't even believe. Like, hey, we haven't played some of these top guys. Well, guess what? Now you did. You beat a team by 10, a quad one team by 10. Now you get another one. This team obviously much trickier, but I don't see how this confidence is going to fail from Miami of Ohio. So give me Miami of Ohio. I'm gonna say they win by 6. And guys, I never do this. If you follow me with my tennis picks, I never like to go back on a pick, but I did change my picks in my bracket, so I wanted to make this clear here. I'm going with UCLA over UCF. Who knows? Maybe maybe I eat my words in a few hours, but I'm going with UCLA. Donovan Dent is cleared. He's going to play. He will be the best player on the court, and I think he's got enough to take them past this game. And a little sneak peek in my bracket, guys. I have them beating UConn. So I like Donovan Dent. I think UCLA is heating up right at the right time. This is a little bit of a tricky travel spot for UCLA. And we know Mick Cronin complains all the time about these travel spots. But the one thing that I like is UCLA is used to traveling. They're a little bit more comfortable with it, because of how big the Big Ten, how vast the Big Ten is with all their teams. That UCLA has to make a few kind of crazy travel spots. So I kind of feel like that might benefit them a little bit, coming out here, even though they got to play on the East Coast. So give me UCLA. I'm gonna say UCLA wins by 10. Thanks again for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share your picks in the comments. Share the video. We'll have a recap of the first day. So excited for Thursday. We'll have a recap of that day coming up. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.